Yankees get swept for the first time this season, and it's to the Boston Red Sox. Things are not good for the New York Yankees right now. This offense is a complete and total mess, and I know Aaron Judge is out, but that's just no excuse for it to be this putrid. And really, just overall, this series was ugly. I mean, the first game, they lose 15-5, just absolute blowout, ugly. And then the doubleheader today, they basically scored 2 runs in the first in game 1, a run in the first in game 2, nothing else. So innings 2 through 9, 0 runs in both games. And the first game was a bullpen game for the Red Sox, and then the second one, Brian Bayo just totally shut them down. So, yeah, it's not good. And the Yankees are now 39-33 in a slew of teams in that American League wild card conversation. You know, I think talking about the division just doesn't feel right. And the Tampa Bay Rays have a comfortable lead on the Yankees there. And then even the Baltimore Orioles have a nice lead, like 5 or 6 games up on the Yanks. Again, it's a long season. A lot can go up and down. But, look, if this goes south, the Yankees could certainly miss the playoffs. Not that that should be the conversation, but just to get an idea of where they are, it's problematic. So, Aaron Judge continues to be out. I personally don't think we're going to see him before the All-Star break. That's just my feeling. And I don't know. I think just be prepared for him to be out for a bit. Maybe, honestly, and again, maybe I have it all wrong, but if they get him back by the end of July, I would consider that a win. It's June, technically just became June 19th as I'm recording this, and I really think that, Judge coming back before the end of July, that's kind of a win. I think he'll be out at least another month. But, again, maybe I'm being a little bit too pessimistic there. They've been kind of coy, and they kind of seem like they don't know. Harrison Bader, he should return and will probably return for this Mariners series. Now, when I spoke at the end of the Mets series, the thought was that he'd be back for this series at Fenway Park. It didn't happen. It wasn't a setback, but it just shouldn't have been said. And I kind of felt like it was soon, and that turned out to be true. So he'll be back, and that'll help more than anything defense, even though the Yankees need help offensively, and he'll provide that to an extent. But defensively, in the outfield will be huge. So getting him back will help a little bit. But when I think about the struggles of this team, there's names that come to mind specifically that are the problems right now. And don't worry about the order of it. That's not important. It's these 4 are the big ones that I think about from an offensive standpoint that are killing them. And there's other people struggling, and we'll talk about them too. But Giancarlo Stanton, Anthony Rizzo, Josh Donaldson, DJ LeMahieu have all been terrible. Whether that be lately, whether that be season long, whether that be injury prone, whatever it might be, they've just been completely well below even pessimistic expectation. They've been terrible. Giancarlo Stanton, the guy, look, he gets hurt frequently, and that's a problem in of itself. But then when he comes back, it takes him forever to get back in rhythm. He is such a hot and cold player, more than I've ever seen, I think, where when he is bad, it's just strikeouts all over the place. He's not going to get on base, and that's it. So he's in one of those things right now, and he's been terrible. Anthony Rizzo has been, is it 3 for his last, not quite 50, but it's 3 or 4 for his last maybe 48, 49, something horrific. And he's not drawing walks either. So he did hit one hard in the last game of the series that was tracked down. So maybe there's signs of life there, but it's been bad, really bad. DJ LeMahieu, there's just nothing going on there. He's in the 230s, and there's not a whole lot of pop. He's not walking a whole lot. He's striking out a ton. It's all bad. It's a DJ LeMahieu that we're not even really accustomed to, where there's been some struggle. Within the last 3 seasons, there's been times of struggle. And usually you could attribute that to an injury. Usually. In this case, we don't know of anything. So I don't think we can just say, oh, he's injured. Could that be the case? Yes. But it's been pathetic for him. And then Josh Donaldson. Josh Donaldson, you know, he hits home runs. He homered in a meaningless spot in the first game of the series, but what is he batting? 150? Maybe worse than that. So there's not, I mean, he is, we can kind of call that as it is. He's basically done. The Josh Donaldson of old will never return. Now, will it be this bad? Maybe not, but you're basically getting good defense, the occasional home run, and that's about it. He has 6 home runs. I'm pretty sure that all of those home runs have been in losing situations, have been in games which the Yankees have lost, and most of them have really been in meaningless spots within the game. Some of them were homers that were ones that were kind of late that got them close, but most of them were where the Yankees were getting killed. So, yeah, that's not good at all. And then you have players where it's like defense is an issue, right? So I think of Jake Bauers, where the hitting is kind of there. It is there. But defensively, he sucks. He's a terrible defender. Gleyber Torres, the hitting has been adequate at worst and pretty solid overall, right? Like, considering, what we think of Gleyber, the offense, it's been fine. It really has been. It hasn't been extraordinary, but it's been well above average. But there's the defensive lapses and just the mental miscues and, so like that. And that's a major problem with Gleyber. So you can't feel great about him on the whole, right? So there's not many players that I could say, wow, like offensively, defensively, like they're in sync. Like, again, Billy McKinney's probably the guy who, in terms of just both sides of the ball, has been giving you decent performances. But it's just been bad, really, really bad. And the pitching in this series wasn't good either, right? Whether that be Domingo Germán, who had been pitching very well for a while, did not in this series. Whether that be Michael King, who has had his struggles lately, again, has had a good year, but he struggled lately. And then Luis Severino, it was an improvement, but it wasn't great. It was better than what it had been, and hopefully he can take a step forward. I saw some things that were good, but not a whole lot to inspire major confidence. And now the Yankees will come home and take on the Seattle Mariners and Texas Rangers, and that won't be easy. Now, the Yankees have had success. I mean, at Seattle, they've had success. They won 2 out of 3 when Judge was around. I look at these pitching matchups, and I'm not feeling too good about those. And then Texas is one of the best teams in baseball, and the Yankees got spanked when they went to Texas. They lost 3 of 4. And that kind of felt like a low point. Now, this feels like a new low point. So that was the end of April. Now, here in the middle of June, it's kind of a new low point. Not record-wise, right? Because the Yankees have been at 500. But this is the first time they've been swept all year. And for it to be against the Red Sox, that sucks. The Yankees went 1-5 versus Boston within the last week. A Boston team that has been hurting and not playing well around these games. Their record, but they now sit 2 games back on the Yankees. And the Yankees overall are 3-8 in their last 11 games. And that dates back to when they came back from that Dodgers series. So Judge gets hurt, they come back, they take on the White Sox at home, and ever since then, 3-8. That is bad. In a schedule that wasn't all that difficult. That's the problem. You played the White Sox, the Red Sox, and the Mets. These are not world beater teams by any means. These are these are below average baseball teams. All right, we'll be fair. We'll say average. Average at best. And that's a problem. So the Yankees will go back to the stadium, and maybe that provides a little bit of something, but probably not a whole lot. At least I think they won't get swept. I hope. So let's talk about this series, and let's try to get through it together, because this is going to be tough. And hey, while I'm at it, would be great if you could please subscribe. Would be greatly appreciated, and we will continue to discuss Yankee baseball throughout the whole season, and hopefully it'll be better than this. But the Yankees lose 15-5. The first game was rough. Really, really rough. They were down, 10-1 after 3 innings. Justin Turner gets 2 homers and 6 RBIs in 3 innings, and defensively sloppy, and I think some of it, there was... it was worse than what it even appears. 2 errors, it felt like it was worse than that. But, man, it was tough. You had Willie Calhoun out there, which is, he's a DH. He's a DH, and fucking Jake Bauers is a DH too. Again, the roster construction is such that you have a glut of old infielders. You have honestly 3 DHs, and you have like what it feels like 1 or 2 actual outfielders right now. I guess just one. I guess McKinney's the only actually because Connor Fluff is really an infielder by trade, actually a catcher technically, but yeah, it is bad. It is really bad. So Yanks in game 1, DJ LeMahieu didn't play in this one, and that's been a thing. And now I mean, look, it's kind of a 50-50 split between LeMahieu and Donaldson. And at times, you'll see Stanton sit. At times, you'll see a Rizzo sit, maybe even Glaber. But it is getting to the point now where Donaldson and DJ, it's kind of a 50-50 situation, again, where Donaldson could go to DH or LeMahieu could go to first or second, but those guys are losing some playing time, and deservedly so. And in DJ's case, it's been quite a bit. It's got to be a bit startling for a guy like him who has really played a lot as a Yankee, when healthy, and it's just not really happening now. But in this one, and again, Connor Falefa's playing time has kind of been here and there. I think with Bader returning, I think he will certainly lose at-bats. Although, again, the Yankees have had a crazy stretch, and it will continue through the Seattle series of just playing right-handed starters. And that will happen again against Seattle, all 3 righties. So against Texas, maybe that'll change, right? I think about Martin Perez. Maybe somehow he'll go. But, yeah, it is crazy how many that has been. So on the mound for Boston was Tanner Houck, and you feel bad for Houck. He, in the 5th, got crushed by a line drive by Kyle Higashioka and actually left the game in the 5th. So what was going to be an easy win for him, and what was a pretty nice outing to that point, gets cut short. He was bleeding pretty badly on the cheek, and I think he probably got placed on the IL by the Red Sox. If he didn't, I'm sure he will soon. So thoughts go out to him. But Yankees, Domingo Germán, he was due for a stinker, and that's exactly what happened. He went 2 innings, gave up 7 runs, and 2 walks and a strikeout. So the ERA balloons up to 4.3. Matt Crook actually makes his MLB debut. We'll talk about that. He actually was kind of unlucky, deserved a better fate. But Jake Bauers gets a leadoff double. So, right, I forgot in this game, too, the Yanks scored in the first inning of each game, which hadn't really been a thing. But Jake Bauers, he got on base all 3 of those times. So again, Bauers has provided a little bit of a spark in the leadoff spot. So, and the approach has been good. So I got to be fair, right? I feel like I've been critical. It's not Bauers' fault that he can't field. Do I wish it was better? Yes. Is it frustrating? Yes. But I think that he's had a nice approach to the plate, and I understand the appeal. And so Bauers doubles to start out, and then Glaber singles to make it first and third, and then Rizzo gets an RBI groundout. So this was kind of very reminiscent to the 3rd game of this series, the way that kind of transpired. Not exactly the same, but again, that's where Glaber, to me, like, I'm not going to put him in that same pool as those 4. The Stanton, Rizzo, LeMahieu, Donaldson pool. I'm not going to put Glaber there. I don't think that's fair. I think that while we can be frustrated for different reasons, he has, done what he can at the plate. And maybe I'm just being too nice to him based on how the bar has been set by the rest of them. But honestly, like, there's a little bit more of a sense of confidence when he's up there. So Rizzo gets an RBI ground out, and that makes it 1-0 Yanks. Bottom of the first, it was the Justin Turner show. This was the Justin Turner show and kind of a carryover from the Yankee Stadium series. So Turner with a 1-out double. Eventually, it's a 2-out situation, and Yoshida gets a 2-run double. Now, I can't remember if this one went off the Green Monster, but that happened time and time again in this series where they would just place it off that wall every single time. And Boston is a much better. I mean, look, Fenway Park is a joke. I honestly think I respect its classicness and just, it's the oldest stadium in baseball. So this isn't me shitting on the mystique, and I think Fenway Park's awesome. I really do. But just people make fun of the Yankee short porch, right? And deservedly so. That is a joke. But you look at the whole dimensions of Fenway, it's just wacky. And I'd be saying that even if it worked out for the Yanks. This is not, it's weird. And so the Red Sox, that's good hitting. That's taking advantage of your dimensions. And so that makes it 2-1 Boston right there. So we jump to the bottom of the second, and it's a 2-out rally. And that's the thing, too. The Red Sox, and that happened in the first, they got, I think, 21 runs with 2 outs in this series. I mean, that's alarming. Like, Boston was getting it done with 2 out. Not good. Not good at all for Yankee pitching. So it is a 2-run homer for Justin Turner. Makes it 4-1. We go to, and again, I might be skipping over some things that happened, but we're going to kind of just skim through this series here. So bottom of the third, you get an RBI single by Yoshida, makes it 5-1. Eventually, Herman's out of the game. He just, didn't have it. Just didn't have it. So Matt Crook comes into, I believe, was it a bases loaded situation? Or was it second and third? I think it was second and third, no out. If memory serves, yeah. And look, he gets a lot of soft contact. Ground out, and then an infield RBI single by Pablo Reyes where Donaldson bobbles it. Would have been a tough play. Would have liked to see Donaldson come up with it, but he bobbles it, and so that makes it 6-1. So he almost kept it at 5-1, but then it kind of unravels where Verdugo gets an infield single. This is a bad job by Rizzo and Crook, where Rizzo has gotten too aggressive where he'll just get in front of Glaber and it makes it for a tough situation at first base. He's got to stay back, let Glaber field that, and it's a much easier play. So Crook should have went over there just to be safe. He doesn't. And so now the inning extends to Justin Turner, who hits a grand slam. So Turner's 10th homer of the season, his second homer of the night, 6th RBI, and it makes it 10-1 Red Sox. And so the game is over at that point. And to make matters worse, bottom of the fourth, again, Crook unlucky. The final Crook line, it feels very unlucky for what it was. Abreu comes on, and you get a Connor Juan 2-run single. This is a situation where Abreu should have been backing up third. There was sloppiness left and right in this game, just ugly. That makes it 12-1. RBI single Pablo Reyes makes it 13-1. And so you can tell this is going to be an Isaiah Kiner-Falefa pitching game, and it was. So this was reminiscent to that game where the Yankees got blasted at home versus the Twins, and also reminiscent to the game where the Yankees got blasted at Texas. The Yankees have had a couple of games this year where they've gotten creamed, and this was one of them. Speaking of being creamed, unfortunately, Tanner Houck, like I said, gets just crushed by that Kyle Higashioka single. As an aside, and again, it's completely, like, Higgy's been really seeing the ball well, hitting the ball well. I wonder mentally what happens from here. Again, this is maybe a foolish thing to even throw out there, but look, like, that had to have been tough for Higgy to see that, to be responsible for that. And so let's just keep an eye on how Higgy does. And if he doesn't do well, it's not like we can definitely say, oh, it's because of that, but just something to keep in the back of your minds. So from there, Joe Jacques, I think that's how it's pronounced, or something. It was weird. When Kay said it, I was like, really? That's not how it looks when it's spelt. But anyway, it is, what's the score at this point? 13-1, right? So top of the sixth, again, no Houck out there, so that probably helped him. Anthony Rizzo with a 2-run double, and I guess, I can make fun of it, but, like, whatever. I mean, he wasn't, I probably would have made fun of him even if he got out. So Rizzo kind of gets off the schneid with a 2-run double in a meaningless situation. And then Billy McKinney with 2 outs gets an RBI single, makes it 13-4. We go to the bottom of the sixth. Abreu's still on. It's an Abreu-Nick Ramirez combination, which leads to an infield. Right, this was the Tristan Casas RBI single, which should have absolutely been an error on Torres all the way through. It's a throwing error on Torres, which leads to the run. So no RBI. This was a bad Glaber play, and it makes it 14-4. Corey Kluber comes on, and that's a tough thing. Corey Kluber is now in the Red Sox bullpen pitching in mop-up duty, so might be time for Corey to think about retiring soon. But, yeah, score at this point is 14-4. In the eighth, Josh Donaldson homers. This is what I'm talking about. Completely meaningless spot, down 14-4. Makes it 14-5. And then at the bottom of the eighth, Kiner-Falefa comes on, and he almost pitched another scoreless inning. However, off of the green monster, Tristan Casas with an RBI double makes it 15-5, and that's your final score. So an absolute embarrassment by the Yankees. Then it's a rainout. Saturday night's a rainout, so we have a doubleheader. And the Yankees had a recent doubleheader as well against the White Sox, which they split. This one, they would lose both. So the first one started out promising, and it was Caleb Ort, who I believe, almost certain, was a former Yankee prospect, and he pitched a couple of innings against Clark Schmidt. And Clark Schmidt, the first 2 times through was great, and then third time through was a problem. And so for Schmidt, like, things have gotten better, definitely, and you kind of feel better about him than some of the other guys, which is scary. But Clark can't really seal the deal, but this loss is more on the offense, and Michael King, I would say as well. Michael King has struggled lately. But in this one, Josh Donaldson would be on the bench, and Willie Calhoun would not start either of the two games. He is in a tough spot roster-wise. Oswaldo Cabrera was sent down after the game tonight, which made sense, although I think Willie Calhoun is going to be struggling to find time just because of the fact that Stanton clogs up the DH spot and some other reasons as well. And it kind of forces you to put Jake Bauers in the outfield, which is not an ideal situation, but I digress. So it starts out with a Jake Bauers double and then a Gleyber Torres homer. So, I mean, great start with one out on the Torres homer. His 12th homer of the year makes it 2-0. So looking pretty good. And Clark Schmidt was looking good too. So, but the Yankee offense completely stalls out. And Chris Murphy, the lefty, comes on and shuts the Yankees down. And that just can't happen. That is where you lose the game. Is if you can extend it, make it 4-0, 5-0, the whole complexion's different. It never happened. So we go to the bottom of the fifth, and it's a one-out rally. It's the third time through the order. A walk to Verdugo, a double by Turner, and again, this is where Jake Bauers did not look so good out there. A normal left fielder, I think, comes up with this. And so that's 2-0 at that point. Then you get an RBI ground up by Devers, and then Clark Schmidt cannot get the out to be in line for the win. A bad 0-2 pitch to Adam Duvall, RBI single. That was a bad pitch by Clark Schmidt. And so it kind of unravels, and then King finishes the inning. Top of the sixth, Yankees, hey, Jake Bauers again, leadoff double. Nick Pivetta comes on, Stanton strikes out, and he has been horrific. Torres fly out, and Rizzo fly out. So Rizzo, I didn't recheck this, but it's probably true. Remember that stat I brought up early in the season where he is 0 for probably around 18 or so, maybe 19, with runners in scoring position and 2 out. Again, maybe there was a hit that I missed somewhere along the line, but obviously he hasn't really had many hits in the last month or so. So bottom of the sixth, it's a 2-out rally. A lucky hit by Kike Hernandez, an infield single, but then it gets bad. Connor Wong, RBI double. Alex Verdugo, RBI double. Justin Turner, RBI single. And just like that, it's 5-2. So Michael King could not stop the bleeding, and at this point, it feels insurmountable. Kind of was. So Yanks go down easily. Nick Ramirez in the seventh gives up a triple to Yoshida. Kind of left a struggle a little bit out there in that triangle. And then there's a balk, which scores Yoshida, makes it 6-2. Greg Weissert, who was called up as the 27th man, he got sent down after the game. Pitches the eighth, actually looked pretty good. I don't really trust Weissert, but that's here nor there. And then Chris Martin, not the Coldplay Chris Martin, the reliever, the one-time briefly former Yankee, comes on and pitches a scoreless ninth inning. The Red Sox win 6-2. We go to Sunday Night Baseball, and so the Yankees did not fare well on ESPN this week. They lost the 2 Sunday night games to the Red Sox and that Met game. So, yeah, might want to not have any more of these ESPN Yankee games. So it would be Brian Bayo, who did well last Sunday night versus the Yankees against Luis Severino. And again, the Yankees take the lead. Donaldson in the lineup, LeMahieu out of the lineup. And again, like I said, Calhoun out for both, and Connor Falefa on the bench. So it's a Bauers walk, then a Gleyber double, and an RBI ground up by Rizzo. Do I wish that it was a 2-run single? Of course. But hey, he did get the runner over to third in the process, so a pretty productive out. It was. And then Stanton strikes out. Now, not all blame goes to him. The home plate ump was calling the low strike all night long. But still, the fact of the matter is that Stanton strikes out, and that's been happening so often. And I believe his batting average is close to 200 now. That is just, you wish it weren't true, but you kind of knew it was going to happen. So we go to the bottom of the second, and the Red Sox tied up. It was a Devers single, then a sac bunt by Ref Snyder, and with 2 out, Kike Hernandez RBI double. And Kike Hernandez continues to be a thorn on the Yankees side, makes it a 1-1 game. Then in the third is where Rizzo gets robbed. This was a deep fly ball into the triangle, and Jarren Duran makes a great play. That was unfortunate. That's the way things are going. We go to the bottom of the fourth. And I should say at the top of the fourth, Josh Donaldson gets picked off. That's just completely unacceptable. For Donaldson, who should not be taking a big lead anyway, he walked and Donaldson gets picked off. That can't happen. That's a veteran making a fucking rookie mistake. So bottom of the fourth, speaking of mistakes, eventually you got into a spot where it's bases loaded 2 out, right? And it was actually bases loaded 1 out. Sevy almost gets out of it. But then there's catcher's interference when Reese McGuire's up on Higashioka. We see that too much from Higgy over the course of his career. The catcher's interference, it's more of a him thing than a Trevino thing. So that makes it 2-1. Then in the bottom of the fifth, you have a situation where there's a runner on second, one out, and Verdugo gets a single, but really Anthony Volpe probably should make this play. I agree that it was a hit. It didn't deserve to be an error, but you'd like Volpe, who has, and I haven't even brought him up yet. I will at the end. You know, that makes it first and third. Eventually, it's bases loaded, and then he strikes out Ref Snyder. So here, you're thinking, okay, here we go again. Sevy's going to get out of it. But then the big blow of the game is a 2-run ground rule double by Tristan Casas, makes it 4-1. And so, just like the game before, it feels insurmountable, and it kind of was. You get Josh Donaldson in a spot where it's first and third, 2 out. He grounds out meekly to short. Marinaccio comes on, pitches a scoreless 6th. And then the 7th inning is where you had your biggest opportunity. First and second, no out. Willie Calhoun pinch hits for Higashioka. He strikes out. Calhoun has not been good as a pinch hitter. That's kind of his role on this team. That's not great. Volpe with a soft grounder makes it first and third, 2 out. He's still second, and Jake Bauers in a big opportunity strikes out. So Bayo with 7 great innings, and then Wandy pitches the 7th. It's scoreless for him. Winkowski comes on and pitches a clean 8th, except for it by pitch to Rizzo. Bottom of the 8th, Tommy Kahnle, who's been nothing but good since he's been back with the Yanks, strikes out the side. And then in the 9th, Kenley Jansen goes not 1, 2, 3. There was a single by Trevino. And Anthony Volpe strikes out to end it. Anthony Volpe, I just think, and look, I haven't brought up till now, right? So it's not like he's on the top of my mind, but he's not major league ready. Like, he's not major league ready. So I think there's Oswald Peraza, who, again, his play has dipped a little bit at Scranton, not that much. He deserves to be up here. He deserves to be up here. And Volpe is pretty much living off of that amazing spring training, right? If Anthony Volpe doesn't have that spring training, the whole situation is different. Hey, maybe he goes down to AAA, does great, and then gets called up, and it's a different thing. But I think that he could use some time down there. It's not an indictment on the kid. He's young. He needs to learn. Let him get that experience in AAA. And you can have Peraza up here and get an opportunity and see how that goes. So the Yankees dropped to 39 and 33. Let's quickly discuss the Mariners series coming up. So Yankees-Mariners, which, look, I think the Yankees are going to have a tough time scoring runs. So the first game is George Kirby, who pitched very well versus the Yankees in Seattle, like shutout ball for at least 7 innings, if not more, against Garrett Cole. So, hopefully Cole can pitch well. It's been decent lately, more than decent. He's been good, but let's just see what happens there. I think that's going to be tougher than it looks. Let's just put it that way. Game 2 is going to be Luis Castillo, who has owned the Yankees. He's a great, great pitcher. Like that right there, I already know is going to be really tough against TBD. So with this rain out, the Yankees kind of have to go away from their 4-man rotation, and they're probably going to call up Vasquez, who has done in 2 starts in the majors, has looked pretty good, although it's funny, his minor league numbers are not good. Either way, that matchup doesn't look good at all. And then game 3, it'll be Brian Wu against Domingo Germán. Now, Wu, it's kind of hit or miss. And I feel like for him, it'll be hit in a good way, where he's got strikeout stuff, really good potential I see in him. He's had some clunkers, and maybe that happens here, right? I think it could be I think there's probably no in between. Either he probably does amazingly well, or maybe he gets touched up. But again, it's hard to see that with the Yankees right now. It's like, how is that going to happen? Against Domingo Germán, looking to rebound from a bad start. Let's remember, he didn't pitch all that well at Seattle, although that game was lopsided. Sometimes Germán, when games are lopsided, isn't as good when it's close. So again, I look at all that, and I'm not all that encouraged. And then they play Texas. And so I look at this, and I say 3-3 is an absolute win. Whereas that wouldn't be the way I'd be talking, let's say a month ago. I'd be talking about 4-2 and how, let's get to that. 3-3 is like a win. 3-3 is like a celebration. So let's just see what happens. But again, Yankees will take on a couple of tough AL West foes and important ones too. Look, Seattle, the Yankees are 2 ahead on the loss side of Seattle. They're right there. So Yankees got to scrape out some wins. They need it badly, and you can't be making mistakes. When, the Yankees are what they are, you have to play just razor thin, just airtight baseball, and that's not happening. So you're going to lose pretty easily. That's what happened in this Red Sox series. They got their asses kicked by the Boston Red Sox, and the Yankees get swept for the first time this season. So we'll see. Yankees come home, and hopefully things get better.